Came for my wins, I need my hands. This life is real, don't play pretend. Came off the bench, I get it in, I get it in, I get it in. Came for my wins, I need my hands. This life is real, can't play pretend. Came off the bench, I get it in, I get it in.
And welcome to Talking the Gridiron Week 17 recap here. Jimmy, that's the first time I got to do the intro there. Quite the new intro here at Variety Sports Network.
It leveled up a bit.
Yeah, that was quite the intro there. First time I got to do it. So I wasn't sure when it started, but hey, we got it going here. We're week 17 recap here. Took last week off for Christmas here. I got Jimmy here with me. I got Terrell joining me here. Jimmy, first off, how you doing, my friend? How was Christmas? How was the New Year?
Holidays were good. The Bengals stressed me out, and they're going to stress me out again a little bit later on tonight. But it's been going well. I don't have many complaints, and I predicted the national championship correctly coming out of the semifinal. TCU versus Georgia. I did predict that, so I'm riding high right now.
Yeah, we got of course my guy Terrell here. I've been on a few podcasts with Jason over there at 3rd and 3 podcast. Man, so glad to have you on. How you doing? I saw you guys did a podcast earlier this week, recapping Thursday. That was fun, little podcast. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, we doing all right. We usually try to do a recap show before the Thursday game, and then we do our Friday night Raw shows where all the fellas on there talking like we at a barbershop or something, getting it in. And then the second episode is for the elite. That's when we really do our picks and betting favorites and fantasy stuff like that. Yeah, man, Relatives Sports Talk. Thank you for letting us on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. And like I said, we'll get into it here. Let me start with you, Jimmy. Here, what was kind of your initial thoughts here of Week 17? Just kind of like your, just quick little thoughts here of it.
There was a lot of teams that I think were looking to make a statement, or we had a lot of matchups where playoff implications were on the line, and a lot of teams showed kind of their true colors. Some of the teams that we thought were kind of juggernauts and shoe-ins for deep playoff runs maybe showed some weaknesses as well. So it was kind of a prove-it week, and so far a lot of teams are proving the opposite of what we were thinking. But it does make things interesting. Like this weekend, we're going to have the AFC South divisional championship game between Jacksonville and Tennessee. That should be fun. So it set up kind of some fun matchups, but there's a lot that it was left to be desired with some of the performances that we saw out of the top teams.
How about you, Terrell?
Hey, man, it was super exciting. I found myself – I was in a couple of fantasy championship games too, so that made it even more exciting. But, the games and the storylines going through, like he was saying, was awesome. It was awesome seeing some teams not even know they were going to be eliminated. I'm talking about my Washington team. Coach didn't even know.
I wasn't going to go there.
But then seeing other teams just battle, like Carolina, they were that close to being in the lead for the division. I mean, it was awesome to see little stuff like that. Feel bad for Dolphin fans who finally had their hopes high this year, and it just all crumbled concussion by concussion.
I know I said it a few weeks after that happened. I said they're going to be the team that every year that happens to one team. But sure enough, they got a little healthier, but then they folded late. We'll get into them a little bit later here. Hey, let's start with, we're going to recap the game here, a little game by game. We'll kind of touch on a few of them, and then I'll get these guys winners and losers of the week here. Before here, let's see what we got a football comment here. What we got here? Get this going on here. We got a soccer comment. Football, wrong sport. That's okay there. Hey, Niners Raiders here. I thought that was kind of the game of the day in some sense. Not just because I'm a Raiders fan. I just thought it had all the makings of it. It was a little bit more personal for me with it being the old Bay Area matchup there. I mean, the Niners again. They just figure out a way to win. They stay hot. Get their 9th straight win, I believe.
I don't know since trading for McCaffrey.
Yep, that's true. And he looks really good. He had that one little drop on the slant, but that was even a tough catch. He ran over a guy yesterday at the end of that last drive. For out here, people are kind of waiting for the Niners to have to play a high-scoring game with Purdy and kind of maybe have to battle up. I don't say the Raiders are the highest of the competition, but what do you think there, Jimmy?
I think he looks okay. He looks good enough for a Kyle Shanahan offense. Let's see if Kyle Shanahan will trust him in the big moments to actually go out and try and win a game. But the way that the team is playing around him, the defense, even though yesterday was a little bit more high scoring, unless it continues and it becomes a trend, I'm fine with them having one game where the offense just Like who knew that Jarrett Stidham was going to be able to go out there and play like that? I don't think anybody was expecting much after Carr got benched. So I think you can maybe write off the defensive performance, but Purdy being able to manage the game and using the weapons around him, plus they're going to get Debo back. George Kittle seems to be unlocked a little bit. Like they're definitely with the way things are falling, they could be anywhere from the 1 to the 3 seed in the NFC. If they're the 1 seed, it's very difficult for me to think that they're not going to be able to just run it 50 times and win the NFC Championship and be in the Super Bowl again. It's very similar to that team from a couple of years ago. Their defense might even be better because their defensive line maybe picked up a little bit with Bosa and those guys, but they are very dangerous. Raiders did way better than I thought they would. I don't know if that made you feel better.
I mean, it made the game at least a little bit more entertaining. But again, the same predictability with the Raiders. They can, if there's a way for them to lose a game, I always say they win. The way they lose is almost more impressive than how teams win. So that's always kind of my say with the Raiders regard there. What do you think of the Niners there? You think that did you need to see a game like this where they kind of just kind of go high scoring back and forth with the team? What's kind of your thoughts there? The Niners here, almost maybe looking like the best team in the NFC.
Well, I thought that they were the team that could contend with the Eagles to get to that Super Bowl. I always was worried about Purdy and things like that. Past couple of weeks, we look at it, and they've been solid, nothing crazy, but that defense has been spectacular. Yep. This kind of worries me a little bit, honestly, because what's going to happen when you play other teams, no offense to the Raiders, but you know what I mean, other juggernauts in the NFC. The only thing that's good for them, they don't need that 1 seed. I think where they're located is perfect. They would play the Giants in the first round, that's a good matchup for them because the Giants aren't going to knock you out the building by scoring a whole bunch of points. And then in the second round, they would either probably play, I'm going to say it, Green Bay or the Vikings, which is another good matchup for them. And I think it's an easier path to get to that Super Bowl, staying right where they're at.
Yeah, no, it's funny with the Niners. They just kind of like, it's just the quarterback that kind of has you hesitated, right? If they have a decent quarterback, you're like, oh, they're by far the favorite. So it's kind of that team. That's what kind of always is to me the trick with that team. And they have such a good coach. I just believe in Shanahan so much. So what do you guys think of the Raiders part of it? Do you think they made a mistake in benching Carr? I've took a little heat for it out here with a few things where I said I think Carr, the time is over with 9 years and like no playoff victories. Some people say, well, it's more the idea that Carr hasn't been surrounded with the pieces, the coaching and things. I agree with some of that's not ideal for a quarterback to go through as many offensive coordinators. But to me, if you're a legit great player, you'll still make it work. What are your thoughts of that, Terrell?
Well, twofold with them, especially everything that the Raiders went through last year with all the scandals and everything. Derek Carr he's the figurehead for the whole thing. He was the face. Yep. And he held that locker room together, and they made the playoffs. I mean, his leadership showed me so much that I think that the organization, just by benching him and putting him away just to save some money for the cap and all those kind of things, that was kind of touchy for me. But it is a business, and him getting benched like that just means that the Redskins are going to overpay for him, and we'll try to get him.
He's already looking.
You're going to have to fight the Colts on that one.
Hey, you fit it good on this podcast. Everything circles back to our own teams, so that's good.
Yes,
always. Everything always circles back to our own thing there. What do you think there, Jimmy? I know obviously living in Denver, you kind of get a few of the Raiders games a year. What do you think of Carr being there 9 years? This is the end of it with him in Las Vegas.
I've never seen an NFL franchise as strapped for cash as the Raiders are right now. That's why we talked about it. That's why they can't get rid of McDaniels, as bad as he was for the beginning of the season. They don't have the money to pay his buyout. And there's the conspiracy theory going around that Mark Davis is trying to drive the value of the team down so that when his mom dies, there's not as high of inheritance taxes that he's going to have to pay. But it's like, I think most of their decisions are being made by money. And yeah, they treated a guy that was there for a while, put in a lot of good time with them pretty poorly. It's almost like I totally get it. I don't think that they could have gone about it another way. I don't think that there was a better way for them to do it, because if he gets hurt and they can't trade him and move on from his money, they're screwed. Like they're in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Then.
And that's the problem. He's not worth $40.5 million.
And it's not like he hasn't been hurt before.
But Darren, though, on the flip side, you saw how Devontae Adams reacted. And he adds a little value to having Carr there, because he's the best wide receiver in football. And if his best friend, the reason why he went there, is going to get treated like that and let him go, I'm nervous that he might pull one of these baby things that all these little crybaby athletes like Kyler Murray. I'm going to take off of social media. Oh, I'm off Twitter now. And he might be made a trade. I mean, I'm just saying, he's that good of a wide receiver and a star player that sometimes.
Well, that catch he had yesterday was ridiculous. That was just an insane catch. I mean, only like the elite of the elite make that. But you're right, though. I was thinking about that, like, would they ever package a deal if, like, early in that little trade period, they have like a combo deal with anybody? That'd be a lot of money to pay two people. But I don't know. I'm hoping the Raiders can work it out with them, and, like, whatever, the McDaniels. I mean, he got paid, so we'll see what happens. All right, that's the Raiders part of it. Stidman as well. I think his wife was on TV more than him. Yeah, that was impressive.
It's a Brent Musburger called game, right? Yeah, he's looking at the wife. He's looking for the girlfriend, the wife.
I thought it was a college Saturday game as much as they were.
They took him off the TV after the whole AJ McCarron's girlfriend situation. I was just a radio guy.
Hey, Eddie is the Raiders play-by-play announcer, so there's something there too. Yeah. All right, let's keep it going here. Rodgers and the Packers, they come out, they beat the Vikings 41-17. It's so funny, the Vikings every year. They're 12-3 and they're like underdogs. Like, they just, I don't know, that cracks me up. Like, when you read it, they're just so fraud in their regards. Yeah. I don't know. Like, my big question out of this game is, like, they obviously play the Lions here for a big game on Sunday. Probably will be the Sunday night game, is my guess. Could be a really big game if Seattle loses this week. How dangerous can Green Bay be if they're a number 7 seed? They get Rodgers in there. What do you think? What do you think, Jimmy?
It could be pretty. I feel like I can't count them out. It'd be like counting out. It's experience. The guy's been there. Now in the first round, I'm talking about the first round. And when it gets further on and the games get bigger, Rodgers can't take over and win games anymore. He's proven that over the last couple seasons, and that's the reason why they continue to lose in the NFC Championship game. But for the first round, as a 7 seed, they're a danger to a lot of teams that have very good seasons, like career seasons. They're dangerous to the Lions this week. Imagine the Lions. You do all this, you play well, you dominate the Bears the second to last week of the season. All you have to do is go and beat the Packers in Lambeau, I believe, right? They're playing in Green Bay. Yeah, that's going to suck if their season ends. This is as good a season as Detroit has had, and this is as bad as we've seen the Packers over the last 3 years. So they are dangerous.
What do you think, Detroit? You think the only thing is, like, what if he has to match up with the Niners again, where it's been like hell for him to play? Like,
that's his Achilles heel. Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, it's Jared Goff and the Lions on the road outside. Yeah. They're going to lose. And the NFL knows what they're doing by putting this as a Sunday night. It's a culmination for Mr. Aaron Rodgers to get into relax, REA. You know what I'm saying? So Aaron Rodgers getting that last spot. He's going to go in there and beat Minnesota. Yeah. Minnesota was thinking about the playoff game yesterday instead of the game itself. They knew they could see the writing on the wall.
That was bad.
It's good for football. And I can't stand Aaron Rodgers, but it's good for football because all we really keep saying is Cowboys, Eagles, Niners.
Yeah.
So at least now you throw in an Aaron Rodgers, just like a Tom Brady. His resume speaks for itself. The Cowboys don't get caught up because you might lose that first round matchup. It is Brady, so.
Yeah, no, you're right there. What do you guys think of the Viking side of it there? Like what's your I always say 1 out of 10 with the Viking. What's the confidence meter? Like I said, Jefferson, nothing yesterday. Is it like 1 out of 10? I'm a 4 with him. Anybody lower than that with him? You way lower? You totally out? Okay, where are you at with them on that? Just a little 2. Okay.
2. They're frauds. Kirk Cousins a fraud. Dalvin Cook, I would never draft you ever again, Dalvin Cook. They don't give him the ball in anyway. But yeah, I think they're frauds. I love the coach though, man. I love the coach.
Yeah, he's not bad.
Yeah, I love the coach, but
I'm always impressed with the coach. Like, I'm always worried about teams that win games so close like they have all year. Jimmy, I know you've been thinking they're frauds. Is it even lower than 2?
No, I'm about a 5. I'm a 5 because they can. Kevin O'Connell doing what he did. This team didn't make the playoffs last year, and now they're going to win the division and be possibly a top 3 seed in the NFC. That's a good thing. But yeah, they could be upset. But again, I thought they were going to be upset 2 years ago against New Orleans when they made the playoffs then, and Kirk Cousins proved that he won. Yeah, they should have. They should have, but they won. So I have them at like a 5. They could definitely win, but they can also totally fall off the cliff, just like they did yesterday. Nobody was expecting them to get manhandled. There was a possibility they lost, but make it close. And the games that they have lost this year, they've gotten beat up pretty bad. Like the
Yeah.
Cowboys put a hurting on them, Packers put 40 on them. That's not good.
No, they got to struggle there. Hey, so let's go. Let's keep moving here. NFC Eagles, Saints here. The Saints win their third straight, fighting for Dennis Allen's job. I guess that's the little plug for them this year. They do end up. They still, I think, right. They maybe have a chance. I should have looked up, but I
I think
they have
they're
a chance to
eliminated
make the
now.
playoffs.
They're done. They're done.
They're done. Okay, so they are officially done. They beat the Eagles. The Eagles again. They can't clinch the number 1 seed. Hurts continues to be questionable there, even in the finale. Even though the coach is trying his best to. Yeah, we're going to be patient with them. We'll see how patient it is come Thursday, and the pressure's heating up a little bit. And because there is a chance they could fall all the way to the 5 seed. Not saying it's how realistic it is, but there is still a chance that could happen. I guess my question to you guys is, did the Eagles peak too soon? That doesn't mean they're a bad team. It just means sometimes the way the season plays out with injuries and momentum. Do you guys feel that same way? Maybe. What do you think?
I don't think so.
Or Terrell, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, they're too good. Like when Jalen Hurts is playing, they are a different team. So I don't necessarily think they peaked too soon, but I wouldn't say that they peaked too soon. They just have to make sure that they're healthy enough when the playoffs come around. I don't think that they need the 1 seed. It would be nice. Have everybody go through Philly. That's definitely an advantage, but we saw 2 4 seeds in the Super Bowl last year. I think that the Eagles are a good enough team. They've proven that they can win different games with Jalen Hurts at quarterback. Lane Johnson's confirmed that he's going to come back and play in the playoffs. The defense is a little bit worrisome, but I still think that they're one of the best teams in the NFC, no matter if they get the number 1 seed or if they fall down and get a wild card spot, which I don't necessarily see happening. I think that they are going to win this finale. They're 14-point favorites. They opened up at 14-point favorites. There's a reason why Vegas is giving the Giants no chance in this game.
Yeah, the Giants are probably not. They're not going to be playing anybody at all, and there's that spot there with it. And if you're a team, Terrell, you want to have 3 losses going into a playoff, no matter even if you're a 5 seed or 1 seed. So, what do you think there with the Eagles? Do you think they peaked a little soon, or what do you still feel really good about them?
No, I think they're still the favorite. I mean, when you have a dynamic player like Jalen Hurts who's elevated his game each year from college all the way through the pros, he's different than Gardner Minshew. People are giving Gardner Minshew way too much credit because they love the mustache and all the stuff and the mantra about him. He's not the same kind of guy, dude. He changes the game. He can't get the ball to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is the dynamic player that makes everything easier for everyone else. My only concern about watching them, I think they should have utilized Miles Sanders more the last 2 games to get him confident going into the playoffs, cold weather, run the ball, do the physical style. I feel like not giving him the ball a lot of times, turnovers might happen. And then now it's in your head now. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing I do worry about is Miles Sanders going forward.
Yeah, no, that's a good call there. The thing with the Eagles, too, is that matchup against the Niners. Gosh, I want to see that one. It just feels like that's been the matchup all year. That's kind of worse than the NFC the most. I guess, the Cowboys obviously could sneak in there, and the Vikings. That's the matchup I've kind of wanted to see take place in the beginning of the year. So just to see how Hurts and Brown and just how they match up with Bosa and all that. So, all right, let's keep it going. NFC here. Bucks, they defeat the Panthers in kind of a pretty big game, actually. You don't think of it because this is such a bad division here. Brady and Evans continue to light it up. They light it up there with them. 3 touchdowns. Brady throws to Evans. I don't know. I keep hearing it with some people. Are you buying that notion that Tampa Bay can get to the NFC Championship? That's all Brady, right? I don't think it's anything true. They have been winning these close games. I'm just throwing that out. Don't kill the messenger here. They've just been winning late games here. What do you think, Jimmy? You're shaking your head there. I know it's a big no for me, but let's give it to you.
They'll be able to beat the Cowboys.
Division champs.
They'll be able to beat the Cowboys, but that's it. They won't beat anybody else in the playoffs. Anybody else is good enough that they're going to run through. I guess maybe the wild card being if they get Ryan Jensen, the center back, which they're expected to, that could change things for the offense. But it's been so bad, and it's not even like I don't know. Yeah, Brady won them the division. Their division was god awful, and that's why everyone was still alive for the playoffs. They're going to get a home playoff game, but I wouldn't I'm not saying NFC Championship for this Bucks team. I was thinking they were going to be a lot better than they were. Their defense has a ton of holes in it. They're injury prone. Their offensive line hasn't been the same. There's a lot going wrong for them at the wrong times. And yeah, that was a good win. I don't know. I don't trust them right now.
And the thing too is they got down 14-0, right? 10-0. I think that's what it was. 14-0. I know they're down 14-10 and 10 for sure. What do you think there? We think the Bucks have any magic left in them?
I mean, I'll tell you what, anytime Tom Brady's over there, I always think there's any kind of magic. And just like I was saying about Miles Sanders not getting him revved up for the playoffs, like he said, the Cowboys are Cowboys. They can get in their own way real quick in a first round matchup. Now you've got a big win at home. Like you said, Jensen might come back. Mike Evans finally got the touchdown that they've been trying to get him for weeks after weeks after weeks. That's more confident. They need to change the running. Let Fournette sit down. Let the young boy get in there and do that. He brings a little juice to it. He looks a little different. It looks like Pollard and Zeke from last year when Zeke was looking like a slow man. You know what I mean? Right now, let that pop go up in there and do it. I don't know. And Sweat is out for the Eagles. Second round matchup. You never know. The big stage. I don't know. I'm not going to count him out. Unlikely. If I had to do, I'd say a 4.
It's just they get down so early in these games, right? It's just like against a really good team. Can that happen? Yeah.
They're not able to come back. They don't have the explosive offense. The Bengals proved that. Like, they were killing them in the second half. Everybody was saying, that was going to be the deciding factor. It wasn't. They got out to a good lead in the beginning, but the second half they were bullied, dominated. So
it's just that magic that's keeping it alive, right? Like, and I keep joking, if it's Cowboys Bucks, ESPN is going to have a field day, 24 hours news coverage of that game. You will be. I don't even care if you watch it. You'll find it somewhere on that channel.
If they had that game, I would want to see an old school Skip Bayless for Stephen A. Smith with the Cowboy and Brady love.
That would be bad.
Just let them get together just for one segment for that.
That would be hilarious. I just think Parsons would just make life a living hell for Brady in a game like that. Like I said, unnecessary fact to know Brady did clinch his 19th division title there. Probably nobody touching that in a quarterback position ever. So probably not ever going to be the case. All right, NFC here, the team that we said might tank next week, the Giants, though, they pull it out. They look like a team that wouldn't ever have any dreams of making the playoffs at the start of the year. I did not have them at all, anywhere close to it. Jones plays a good game. I find it interesting with Jones, too, that the Giants didn't pick up his fifth-year option last year. You can't completely blame them for that. But they're kind of stuck in a little position maybe going into next year. Where do they sign? Do they franchise tag him? What's the situation they end up doing with Jones going forward? But with that being said, he has a big game yesterday. Like, you see the numbers there. Who do you think gets the most credit for this turnaround? Is it the players, the coach, the GM? Like, where do you? Obviously the coach has been amazing. Where do you think, Jimmy? Where do you think maybe if we had a pie chart, where's that fall a little bit?
It's the coach. That's the 100% the coach, because this is basically the same roster. They're a little bit hurt. They're a little bit more strapped for cash this season, which honestly makes what Dable did even more impressive. But Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley were there through all the bad coaching years, and now they have a competent guy on the sidelines who has instilled a level of professionalism and discipline. Like, this is a team that you're going to know you played. I don't think that they're going to be able to win a ton in the playoffs, but they broke their curse. The boat picture curse is now over. So Odell Beckham no longer has anything to hold over the Giants' head. And, they did what they needed to do. And they're probably going to re-sign Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. That's the report that came out over the weekend. And if you're Daniel Jones, why not? Because if you go somewhere else and you're expected – the Giants know what you're expected to do. They know how to win with you. If you go somewhere else and you're expected to be the franchise quarterback that's going to turn things around, I don't think that's him. But he could be he's a slightly better version of Taysom Hill. He can throw the ball just a little bit better. He's a little faster, and he has a really good running back to play with. That's kind of where I see this Giants team.
Just a little bit better Taysom Hill. Damn.
Oh, dang.
I still think he was overdrafted.
I agree with most things that you said, but I mean, you have to stay there. Why do you want to keep getting a new offensive coordinator and everything else, play caller, each year that you're in the league?
This is going to be the first year, yeah.
As far as the pie chart goes,
yeah,
I think GM gets the most. He's getting half.
All right.
3/4 of that other one is Dable. The reason why I say that is because the Giants, you can't name anybody on offense but Saquon Barkley and Jones. They built that team in the draft in the trenches, offense and defensive line. They drafted A+ this past year, and the draft picks that they got are standouts. They're making plays. Daniel Jones, if he's smart, don't try to be one of these top 10 paid quarterbacks. Go ahead and get you right there. That's enough money to get love. Like you said, he ain't got to prove nothing to nobody else. He don't have to go change a franchise. know your role, stay where you're at, and they'll build around you. I think that GM is doing big things, and the coach loves him. The coach loves him. So he calls him Baby Josh Allen. He loves him, and when a coach loves him, he'll go to a wall for him.
I love always when they put baby in front of a great player. I remember when Eddie Curry, my favorite. I know you guys are NBA people, but Eddie Curry drafted by the Bulls, Baby Shaq. I'm like, Baby Shaq, really? I was like, anybody big is Baby Shaq. Also, hey Jimmy, I got to get your perspective on this because it's the Colts and Jeff Saturday. I mean, he just ripped into like his offensive line for not. He first of all thought that I forget the guy's name, Kayvon
Thibodeau.
Yeah, he absolutely crushes the guy. He's doing the Snow Angel celebration. He says basically quotes. He said it was trash, and then he says he's upset that his linemen didn't take matters into their own hands. You as a former offensive lineman, Division II, I'm sure you would. I'm sure your coaches would have been pissed at you as well, maybe for something like that, or no.
If I'm having a guy like Jeff Saturday coach me, where I know he has no business being on the sideline as my head coach, I might be like, what are they going to fight for? And by the way, Kayvon Thibodeau could probably whoop the shit out of 3 of the 4 Colts offensive linemen. There's a reason why they're that bad. The only thing that made it where you have to jump in that point was like calm down. I know he hit you. I know it hurts. You're in pain. Come on, Nick Foles. Be tough. Quit writhing on the ground. You look like you're doing snow angels next to the guy.
He did look like he was dead.
It was crazy. We were watching it live. We were like, hold on. Rewind that. Let's watch it again. It looked like is he trying to mimic him? That's what like, what's going on? Is this a new dance celebrate? What's going on here? All this choreography. I don't know what's.
I wonder if he was talking to him on the ground too. I wonder if he was at the same time.
He said that he didn't know that he was in that much pain. Like, I guess if you're 285 pounds and you club some dude over the head, you don't know how strong you are. Oh, shit. I didn't realize that I knocked him out. Yeah.
Like Caesar.
You're human. You're dying human. And you bounced another man's head off the turf. He's in a lot of pain.
Oh, Jimmy, that's great. It doesn't matter if your coach says it or not. If he's terrible, that's why you're not going to defend. I love it. That's great.
You got to think about your own health at that point. Is it worth me getting knocked out too by Kayvon Thibodeau? He's going to beat our quarterback up, then he's going to turn around and beat me up.
Yeah, and losing money. Nobody's losing money like that over it. All right, we talked about it a little bit here with it, but we got Lions. They crushed the Bears 41-10. They improved to 8-8 after starting the season 1-6. They've really come around. Too bad they didn't do Hard Knocks now or in the middle of the season. Would have been probably a little bit more entertaining to get the footage. They were very impressive with Campbell. The team obviously shows that they want to play for him. They're in contention, like you said. They're not out of it yet. They need Seattle to lose, and then obviously if that happens, it is in their own hands on maybe a tough game on Sunday night at Lambeau. I don't know. I guess my question to you guys is: are you buying any future stock in the Lions after this late season run, or is this one of these runs where it's Goff will come back to reality? That some of the young players will get the Lions luck again. What do you think there, Terrell?
I'm high stock in the Lions.
Okay.
High stock. Jared Goff earned some money, whether they keep him or not. I keep saying it on my show, I think the best person to come there is Lamar Jackson. Go to Detroit, because Detroit's going to treat you like you're a godsend, because they've never really had anything like that explosive, electrifying player. And we ain't even seen Williams play yet much. This offense could be legitimately unbelievable. I mean, our offensive line is not bad already. You got a 2-headed monster in the back. Actually, a 3-headed monster in the backfield, and wide receivers everywhere. Tight ends I've never heard of catching touchdowns every week. I have big stock in them, big stock. And the division's going to get weaker. You don't trust the Vikings. The Bears aren't going to be ready yet. And how much more is Green Bay going to really give you?
Yeah. No, that's a good call. What do you think, Jimmy?
I would say I'm buying stock in them because I think that Jared Goff wouldn't be the worst quarterback to keep if you're not able to go out and get a big guy like Lamar Jackson or somebody else that's going to be available in free agency. Just because when he's got a competent coach, and again, it goes back to, it doesn't even necessarily go on to what happens on the field. I don't know if Dan Campbell does a whole bunch of X's and O's coaching. I think that he gets the guys fired up in the locker room. He gets them where they need to be, when they need to be there. But when he has that behind him, Sean McVay, Dan Campbell, he's done well, done better than what you would have maybe anticipated him being able to do. When he had Matt Patricia as his head coach, yeah, it was awful. Matt Patricia and Steve Fisher are they're like his Novocaine. It's gonna kill him at some point. It's gonna numb him up. He's not gonna be able to play. But if he's playing hard for a guy and they're doing things that nobody really expected, yeah, I think this is sustainable. It'll be interesting to see if he's a part of the plan or not. But they have a culture now, and I think that this coach, the Lions don't have to do a lot. You make the playoffs next year, that's going to be just fine. Then you're going to have to progress from there. You don't have to go straight from barely being in the late season playoff picture to Super Bowl championship. That doesn't have to happen. As long as you continue to go this way with Dan Campbell, I think they'll be fine, and they'll continue to let him ride it out, even if they're struggling to make the playoffs as a wild card next season too.
The only reason I'm tentative to buy stock on him is Jared Goff. I mean, I like his game, but like, can I bank on him? Like, it's nervous for me to say he's going to be the same next year. And that's the part that keeps me kind of holding back. As much as I like the other pieces, the quarterback position over and over again proves it's really important. So unless the defense of the Lions gets better, maybe Goff gets better next year. You know what I mean? But he hasn't had that history of doing that over the time. So he's, to me, going to be one of the more interesting players going into next year, just to kind of see if he can kind of live up to that hype and stuff like that. All right, guys, I asked you to before the pod here. We'll do a little mid breakup here of the games. What's your fantasy player of the week? Brought to you by Row One Brand. Go follow them at CoolStub on Twitter. Use the code VSN15. You'll get 15% off anything in their art gallery. A lot of championship weeks out here for most people. My team did get eliminated last week. Thank you to all the guys that did nothing last week. Josh Jacobs, Jamar Chase. You did nothing the week before. You crushed my soul. What do you guys think? Who'd you guys got fantasy player of the week? And did you win any championships if you were in any?
I'm currently beating Tyler by 10. I wish he was on here because losing to Tyler by 10. But I have Samaj Pira and Tyler Boyd coming up. But I'll say my guy that's carried me through and basically got us into the championship was Austin Eckler, which, love my big dog because I was there with him at Western Colorado for a season. So, yeah, he's been a weapon. Devontae Smith, too, in the last 2 weeks. That's why I drafted him as highly as I did. For the first 6 weeks of the season, I was like, I'm stupid. I'm an idiot. I drafted Cam Akers and Devontae Smith. My offense is terrible. And last 2 weeks, 20 points in the flex. I'll take it.
It's so funny in fantasy football how that works out, man. These guys, if you're paid, you just got to keep them on your bench sometimes. Like the season will progress a little bit that are struggling. What do you got, Terrell, for fantasy player of the week?
I mean, it's kind of crazy because last year in my big 14-team league, I finished last place for the first time ever, and I had players like Cam Akers, DJ Moore, and George Kittle. Well, I still had them on this team, and they helped me win. But my fantasy player of the week was my quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, did his thing. He made me nervous in the beginning, though, but he got me a bunch of points. And yes, unless Burrow gets 70 points, I'll have this ring for me.
70. And then that's I remember the one performance that always sticks out to me is Michael Vick 50. If anybody ever got 70, that'd be impressive. I'm those night. You have a heartbreaker when I had my biggest one is I always say it was against the Vikings. It was Bears Vikings when Favre was still there. No lie. I think I was playing against this girl. She was up. I think I was up 65 points in the last game, and Favre, Chachinko, whatever. I forget his name. It was even Chachinko. That's what his name was. And Peterson combined for 7 touchdowns. I lost by a point. I was I was actually depressed for a day. So fantasy football is real, and it can be painful if you have a lot of money on the line too.
I played against Joe Mixon, the week that he had his 5 touchdowns against Atlanta. I was playing against him. I was happy but sad all at the same time. I was an internal conflict, just walking around.
Mixed emotions on that one for sure.
Keep scoring, but stop scoring.
I had 2 horrible moments, and to this day, I still hate Russell Wilson. I was at my house when everybody came over because we have a belt. We have a championship belt and rings and stuff. Yeah. So we were at the table. We were playing cards. We watched Sunday Night Football. And I'm up by 55 points. And I'm he had Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson scores 56 points on Sunday Night Football to beat me. And I'm holding the belt and everything, running around, drinking, having a good time. And then another time I had the Ravens defense and I was down 1 point. So I'm all celebrating with my friends and they get negative when I lost. Those are heartbreakers.
It can do it to you, man. It's real with it. All right, so those are our fantasy players of the week brought to you by Row One Brand. Also want to shout out Adams and McCaffrey. I'm sure they helped out win a couple people some leagues as well this week. All right, let's keep it moving here. AFC a little bit. Patriots, they beat the Dolphins 23-21. I was a little unsure about this game going into it just because I was I still thought the Patriots win because Belichick, you got to show some life for him one last time. They still have the playoffs on the line. Mac Jones, even though he kind of did his little cheap little play last week, he's still, he ends up getting the
Dirty
job
bastard.
done, I guess, here. I don't know. They're still in the playoff berth. They just need to beat Buffalo next week. I don't know. To me, the thing is what I have written there: 4 straight game with a defensive touchdown. That's why they're still in it. So I don't know. What do you think? Will the Pats clinch? What do you think, Terrell?
No,
No,
because I think the Bengals are going to win tonight, so the Bills going to have everything to play for next week, and that's what the Patriots don't want to happen. Because when the Bills have to have everything on the line, that's when I think they're the most dangerous. When they're at the edge of the table, when they're
what if it goes the opposite though?
They're still going to be
how
playing
much does it change your opinion?
They still need to win. They would still need to win for the 1 seed.
Yeah, you can't lose. Yeah, because
But the
they
Chiefs
will.
play on Saturday, which is weird. That's the weird thing about the way the NFL did it this week. Is usually and I don't really like it. I know they're doing it for money reasons, but they used to always have the games Sunday at the same time. But now they're doing it where the Chiefs play Saturday, and obviously the Jaguars Titans games. So like the Bills will kind of know ahead of time what they need to do.
Crazy,
so that it kind of makes it really weird for Betty.
But are you really gonna go into the playoffs on a 2-game losing streak? Even you back your way into a 1 or a 2 seed? Like that's not. You can't do that if you're Buffalo. You could do that if you were Tom Brady's Patriots, but you can't do that if you're Buffalo. They have to have some momentum going into it. I feel like they're going to play their guys both weeks. So this Patriots team needs to get off my screen. I need to not have to watch the New England Patriots anymore because they are awful. Until they get a legit offensive coordinator and a quarterback who's not just out there to try and hurt people, I don't need to see them play anymore. That's the bottom line. I can't even – there's nothing good for me to see about this team. Their defense is fine. Their defense is great. I'm more of an offensive guy. I love to see offensive line play. Their offensive line has been terrible. They haven't been able to do much, and I just don't like watching them. I would rather them not be in the playoffs, and then they have to go through a full rebuild. I think if they make the playoffs, Belichick is going to try and keep Patricia on his staff as the offensive coordinator out of spite. He's like, you guys didn't think I could do it last year. Let's see how well year 2 goes. And it's going to be the same exact thing. We're going to be sitting here talking about the same people next season. So I just need them to be done.
It's funny. They're definitely going this year's category of the least favorite team. I always do the same for NBA, like the league pass teams of the year for NFL. Not one of the watchable teams this year. They were very boring to watch. Definitely not on the radars like most fun.
People in Boston hate turning on their games right now.
They did. They got a lot of ripping on them in Boston. Obviously they'll rip on you pretty good there. All right, Seahawks. They play the Jets. They keep their hopes alive with the 23 and the Geno Bowl. I called it. I don't know. What do you think? They've been now the Jets 12 straight years. Crazy, right? Not in the playoffs. I want to ask about the Jets first. Despite them not making the playoffs in 7 and 9, do you think it was a successful season? I think the start of the year maybe changed some of our expectations for them going into the year. Combination of their record, their defense is looking okay, but they do have some worry at quarterback position. Maybe that's a landing spot for Carr. What do you guys think for the Jets, though? I know they still have one more week left, but still, what do you guys think? Successful season for the Jets? What do you think, Jimmy?
Go ahead, Terrell.
Oh, I think it's very successful because, like I said, with the draft with the Giants, the Jets might have had the best draft, in my opinion, and we saw their stars become stars. I mean, the running back, he got hurt. Wait till he come back next year. We saw what Sauce can do. I mean, I saw Sauce up in Metcalf's face, shutting him down. And that's just 1 year. I mean, you have to be happy by what you're seeing. I know their defensive lineman that got hurt. He's stopping everything. I just think that their team is good and young. You might have messed up with the quarterback, but like you said, there's a whole bunch of retread quarterbacks that's going to be out there that could be serviceable. I mean, I saw Flacco winning a couple games at the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
And I didn't even talk about the wide receiver. I mean,
Garrett Wilson.
That's the thing. That's the thing with the Jets too, like with the quarterback position. Like, everybody got excited about White after that first week, but it's like, I don't know. It's kind of the same reason I can't.
He proved that he's not the guy yesterday. That's
right.
I'll say, it's a successful season because I expected them to be in the top 10 of the draft, and they're not going to be. At least I'm not sure, depending on how this week goes. But the good thing that you get out of this year is that you don't have the quarterback that can help you win games in your room or in your organization. Flacco won't be able to do it. When you put in Flacco looked like he wanted to get out of there so fast he was giving the ball to the defense. Like, I need to get pulled. Here, you take it. Zach Wilson sucks. He's not for you.
Awesome.
I would think that they're going to make a hard play for Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson is not going to get re-signed in Baltimore, and they're going to want to make the big flashy move, and they're going to have probably the assets to be able to move around to bring in a guy like Lamar Jackson. That might not be terrible. Have Breece Hall, Michael Carter, Lamar Jackson, and Garrett Wilson all on the same team. That offense maybe starts to match the defense. If you can keep the defense intact, Quinton Williams and his brother Quincy, I believe, is playing linebacker there. They're good. CJ Mosley hits hard. That defense is something else. I've known it for the last 2 years. The Bengals ended up beating them this year. That was why they beat them last year with Mike White. Was their defense absolutely popped the Bengals in the mouth, and they were not expecting that. So I'll say, yes, it's successful because you have an attitude about you. You know what you need to fix, and you're going to be able to fix it.
Yeah. I like that point about the quarterback, kind of knowing what you have in the room, at least going into the next year, and you have a solid defense. You have a coach that looks like he knows what he's doing. So I would agree. I think it's a successful season as well. For the Seahawks side of it, real quick, you think they get it? Like, I really hope they kind of don't get in, though, just because for, like, we were talking about exciting teams in some regard. Like, I don't know. I'd still rather – I'm not a big Rodgers guy at all, but, like, I'd still kind of rather see them in than Seahawks. You guys feel the same way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you think would actually give the Niners the best chance? The Packers, the Lions, or the Seahawks at that 7th seed? If let's just say the Niners got the 2 seed.
I think it's the Lions.
Lions, yeah.
I don't think the Lions are ready to go on the road in the playoffs.
No, they don't want to go on the road at all.
No. That team has the least amount of experience to be able to lean on and try and win that game. At least Rodgers, I don't think that he beat the 49ers, but at least he's won a Super Bowl. And you can say, like, 3-time league MVP. He could do something. No, but the other two can't really.
Yeah, that's fair.
One thing I would like to see, though, I don't know if y'all remember when Williams was with Green Bay. Remember when they let him go and he went to Detroit? He's like, yeah, you're my ex-girlfriend. I'm playing my ex-girl. I like to see him go up and let him go try to do something because he ain't scared of that. He runs hard. You know, Swift never got no touchdowns for me because he was getting them all. So, I mean.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I really hope the Rams beat Seattle next week. So that Lions Green Bay game is for everything on Sunday night. So that's what I'm pulling for there with it. All right, we got a little bit more left here in the show here. Back at we'll say the fourth quarter part of it here. Steelers, they stay alive, 16-13 with that win over the Ravens on Sunday. Just as predictable a Ravens Steelers game as you get, right? If you were to say a score, you'd probably say there's a good chance you might say 16-13 in a late January or early January game here. The Steelers, just Mike Tomlin, just mad respect to you, my friend, with just getting this team back to 500 in that regard. Like, I'm sorry I even doubted you the first few weeks of the season. I'm going to slap myself across the face for that. I should be ashamed of myself for even thinking that. Jimmy, you put me straight from the beginning on it. You know, as a Bengals fan, of the damage he could do as a coach and like how consistent their teams are. I don't know. I'm just impressed with the Steelers more than I am concerned with the Ravens. That's what I wrote there. I mean, I know the Ravens, I'm concerned about them definitely, but I'm actually more impressed with the Steelers here to finish the season. What do you guys think of that question? Or if you had a different opinion on it, sure.
Najee Harris was the X factor last night. He got the game-winning touchdown. He takes so much pressure off of Kenny Pickett, and beating the Raiders on the last drive of the game, beating the Ravens in the last drive of the game. I was not rooting for anybody last night because I don't root for the Ravens or the Steelers. I'd rather the field open up and they both just fall to the center of the earth and I never have to deal with them again. But it is helpful. I mean, they helped me out beating the Ravens. Now the Rat Turds will have to play us. And if we beat them, we win the division. We're probably sitting at the 1 or 2 seed, depending on how tonight goes for Monday Night Football. I think that the Steelers team, I would say that they're probably one of the more dangerous. The AFC in the playoffs is going to be stacked throughout. I would see them as a 7 seed and at least know that they're going to be able, like, you can't beat them with the weather because they play in the weather anyways. They're going to be able to travel. They're going to be able to punch you in the face as long as their defensive stars can stay healthy. That was why they were struggling so hard at the middle of the season. You had no TJ Watt, and Minka Fitzpatrick was kind of banged up. Those guys are playing really well, and they're an opportunistic team. Mike Tomlin, that team never goes away.
No, it's super impressive. What do you got, Terrell, with them?
I mean, exactly what he was saying. You know, it changes everything when you put a dynamic player on the field that can change either side of the ball. We talk about a Michael Parsons that can do that. TJ Watt is a guy like that. Just because he plays defense, he's helping that offense just as much. by doing the things that he does, causing turnovers, helping Cam Hayward's job easier, Minka Fitzpatrick's job easier. When you have a top 5 elite talent, that's what can happen. And Steelers culture is what it is. They always know when somebody is ready to go before other people know. Like people give the Patriots all this credit.
Yeah.
Oh, they get rid of players all the time before, overspending. Steelers do the same thing. Steelers saw the same thing. Claypool, you're taking up time. Pickens, get in. You know what I mean? The Steelers evaluate so well also.
Do you guys think the Ravens are a one-and-done team in the playoffs for sure?
Yes.
Yeah.
Without Lamar Jackson, they're not winning. Yeah.
Is he out for the playoffs for sure? I thought there was a chance he could come back.
No, they were saying that he's supposed to be back. I think that they're shooting for him to be back for the finale, but they also were very vague. They're the worst about his health. They never say exactly what's going on with him because they're pissed that he's negotiating his own contract against them. So they're weird about it. They're like, he's going to be out for probably, they said like a span of 10 to 15 days. Like you could have just said 2 weeks. That's all you needed to do.
I feel like they're a franchise that's been not quite like the Steelers, but very consistent over this like last 20 years. I feel like they're at a crossroad this next offseason. So it'll be very interesting the decisions they make. If they bring on a quarterback to keep Lamar and stay with that train, it'll be very interesting what their team does. One of the more, to me, interesting teams in the playoffs going into or off season next year. All right, let's hit the 2-minute drill here. Let's go through a few of the games here, and you can bring up anything you want to talk about on this list here. I got the Commanders. They lose to the Browns 24-10. They're eliminated from the playoffs. Wentz, you had a chance to show up, my man. Pathetic. I just don't know if you deserve to ever get a chance as a starter again. Denver, you show a little life, but they lose their 15th straight to Kansas City.
Russ has more touchdowns than bathrooms in his house. Yeah. It only took 17 weeks.
I know. He actually looked like he kind of knew what he was doing out there for the first time. We got that. We got Atlanta over Arizona. I mean, yes, exactly. Atlanta over Arizona. And then you got the Chargers. They win the battle of the LA. A couple games there that really probably didn't have too many people's eyes on it. What do you guys got there? How about you, Terrell, the Commanders? I know you're a fan there. They get eliminated here. It's just a weird quarterback. They're just one of the weirdest teams over the last – as a Raiders fan, I actually think you're one of the franchises that maybe can complain a little bit more than me in some regard. But
we're the worst franchise in all of sports, probably.
Yeah,
that's why my New Year's resolution was please sell the team and put it in my state of Virginia and just change our whole culture because we can't never ever get a quarterback. And my thing is, what are you doing? Heineke's not the answer. He's not the guy, but the team rallies around him. You have a chance to make the playoffs. Why are you even making a switch anyway? We already know what Wentz is. What happened last year? You have to play the sorry Jaguars to get in at home, playoff game on the line, and you cracked the bed. What made you think it was going to be different today? But I'm telling you, my sleeper team, the Chargers.
Yeah.
Chargers are my sleepers.
You have Herbert as the MVP, I remember, right?
They're getting healthy.
Yeah. You liked Herbert. I know you're a big Herbert guy, too.
Yeah, preseason had him in the Super Bowl, so we'll see.
They're one of the hot teams. Well, hey, I was going to ask you real quick about the Commanders there. What did they have? I think that's a good point you brought up about them switching to Wentz. I didn't really understand that at all.
Yeah, why?
I kind of feel like Rivera, I don't know, I know he's like a consistent head and he's like he does these things he's a good guy and all that, but it's a part of me where I just feel like they could be better coached at some points. Do you get that, or is it all player quarterback related?
I get it every time I look at my division. Other than the Cowboys, they have a horrible coach. Yeah. But look, like you said, look what Dayball's done. Look what the Eagles did with Jalen Hurts. They schemed their system around his strengths, not focusing on the weaknesses. You know what I mean? You can't even see. You think that he's elevated everything. The coaching staff put you in them situations. I mean, the best player on the team is Scary Terry McLaurin. Your quarterback does not get him the ball, but Heineke gets him the ball every week. What are we doing?
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
What are you doing?
I think that's fair. I mean, wait, Jimmy, I know you're not a big Wentz guy at all. Anything on that or any of these other games you want to point
Wentz
out?
is a mental midget. He proved that from when he got hurt in Philly, and you're sitting there with a pout on the sideline in the Super Bowl. Dumbass, they wouldn't have been there without you. You did not need the pout. You did not need to lose the entire backing of your franchise, and we wouldn't have had to see Nate Sudfeld on Sunday Night Football if you would have just been a man and taken what happened. Bounce back. He doesn't bounce back. He's not resilient, and that's why I didn't understand the move. Heineke's at least resilient, and he at least he's going to do stupid things. He's going to make bad mistakes, but some of those mistakes, even the defense is going to be surprised and they might turn out good. That was a bad decision. The Broncos, I didn't think it got closer than I thought they would be to breaking the streak, but they're definitely not going to. They were never going to break that losing streak against the Chiefs in Kansas City. That was never going to happen. But they did look like they kind of had some life. But man, that they're looking for a new coach. And I guess I've been hearing like some rumor coming around here now. The Penner Group is possibly going to move on and buy out that massive contract that they gave Russell Wilson. So maybe that's why he was playing a little bit harder. But it was such a shit show going into that game. Like everybody coming out and posting, no, man, we love Russ. We totally, he's my, you could tell like Walmart, the mascot of Walmart had a gun to the back of their head. Like, no, I love Russell Wilson. Don't pay attention to the guy behind me. I love him. He's my favorite quarterback. He's going to take us to the next level. I promise. They're a mess. They are a mess. I have no idea how they're going to untangle this ball of yarn that they created this season.
Well, I look forward to your guys' podcast during the offseason and having Nico.
No, you don't. Nico's going to be so upset. Well,
if
Jokic continues to play like a back-to-back-to-back MVP, he'll probably be fine. But
we'll have to wait till fall then again. We'll have to wait till fall.
He's not gonna win the award, but he is playing like he had the most efficient night of any center I can remember the other night.
I ranted a rave about our current podcast. I just said I'm still fighting for him for MVP over Luka. All right, I got a couple more things here. We'll call it a podcast. We got this tweet of the week here. Question of the week with it. If you could pick an offensive player to start your team and it can't be a QB, who would you take? I'm assuming. Well, let's just say I'm going to make it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to say for like the next 5 to 10 years, not like right now, like like the current, like a Rodgers or something like that. Even though you probably wouldn't take him, but you get my point. What do you guys got for? Who would you take? I'll start us off. I took Jefferson from the Vikings.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it, but there was a couple tough calls. I kind of was thinking of a few others. You guys got anybody else you might take?
Just to be different, I would probably pick Eckler because I know what he's going to bring to the room, and I think that he's actually been super beneficial as a guy from a lower level coming into an NFL locker room and holding the other people accountable. I feel like he pushes them in a lot of different areas because they're one of the better conditioned teams, and outside of Everett, that Thursday night game against the Chiefs, they're pretty solid. So I would probably pick Eckler just because I know that he brings a lot to the locker room too.
I almost thought about your guy Jamar Chase, but it's hard. Yeah, it's hard because he's got like T. Higgins with him.
I would never pick a wide receiver to start a franchise around. That's just you don't build from the inside. You don't build from the outside.
I was taking Barkley. Barkley was my only other guy I was thinking about. Terrell, you got anybody else I maybe forgot off?
I'm taking Trent Williams. I'm taking that spot right there. That's a crucial spot for me because you could put a great quarterback all the way down to middle of the road and still be successful when you got your blind side covered like that. So I'm trying to get one of those elite ones right there to start my franchise.
If it was about 5 years earlier, I would have said Jason Kelce. Because
Kelce.
Being a fan of the NFC East, he's been consistent. Like every year that he's been in the league, he's been one of the best centers. Yeah. So and he's grooming Landon. He's grooming Landon Dickerson. Their center is going to be perfectly fine for the next 10 years too.
And he does a very entertaining podcast as well. He does a very good job.
He's hilarious. Yeah,
Jimmy, let's get to the big game, my friend. We're here. We're finally here. Monday night.
I don't root for. I'm not biased at all.
You can tell he's getting paid by the logo over there, folks. Paid by the logo. What do you think here? Big game. Bills are favored by 2.5. Bengals are red hot. Maybe the Niners really the only hotter team in the NFL right now. What do you think? Who do you got? Jimmy, I know you got the Bengals here, but just your thoughts of the game all together here.
The first half is going to be awful to sit through is how I'm feeling. That's how most of the games are that I watch, except for the Patriots game when I had to sweat out the end of it because they decided to flip the script. But I'm hoping that this is a game where you're going to have your second half adjustments really step up. That's, I think, where they kind of set themselves apart, especially on defense. Lou Anarumo, their defensive coordinator, shuts people down in the second half. I think they've given up a total of like 17 points outside of a couple weird matchups. The last time they played on Monday Night Football, it was not pretty. The Browns came in and kicked the shit out of them, like up and down the field. I'm really hoping that it's not that way. I'm thinking that they could win. If there's any team that knows how to beat a Buffalo Bills team with Josh Allen that can score at any moment, I would say that they probably are that team. But I mean, it would have been really beneficial if the Broncos could have broken that streak and taken a little bit of the pressure off. That's where I'm sitting because we have the tiebreaker over them. I would love a tiebreaker over the Bills and the Chiefs, but that's going to be difficult. Like, I don't know if I think they're close to ready for that. I just don't know if they're ready to take that next step. So I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
I think that's understandable. If they win today too, so many things change with the game as well, right? You know, so there's still there's the seeding is so I think you guys would still have a chance for the 1 seed, right? Because if KC lost the next week and you won, you'd be tied with them, and you guys beat them head to head. So still a lot on the line there Monday night.
Do they only have 3 losses?
I believe they did. I think they're 13-3, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So
I was gonna say if they had 4, then we're tied record wise, and we would have the tiebreaker. But yeah, if they only have 3. They only have 3 losses, then they're 1 game ahead of us.
If it was ended right now, you guys would be the 3 seed right now. What do you think, Terrell? You got the it's a big game. This is kind of one the Monday nights had some real bad games.
Big game. And I think I agree with what he was saying about the first half.
Yeah.
But I do it for a different reason. I think that Cincinnati, Joe Mixon is going to be an X factor. I think it's because we're going to see the difference in the teams. Joe Mixon is solidified at that running back spot. Still not sold on Singletary. They use Cook when they're ahead. That means they're not believing in him the way that the Bengals will believe in Mixon. I think Mixon's going to have a big game. They're going to use him a little bit the second half. Then you're going to see Burrow and Allen throwing it out. And I think Burrow just got too many weapons. And then the first half, seeing Mixon, you're going to still have to keep your eye on him. And I think the loss of Von Miller in this game especially.
I was just about to say that.
No Von Miller right there. Mixon explodes, opens up the middle of that field.
And that is because we don't have Lyle Collins this week, and even if we did, I think Vaughn would kind of turn him into mincemeat. But yeah, having Vaughn helped me a lot more to say this team can win because we have the best. If you look at it, we have the better pass rush, safeties pretty even, middle linebacking core is pretty even. Pratt and Wilson are just as good as Milano and Edmonds, I would say. It really comes down to that, which offense can establish what they want to do because the Bills love to throw the ball around, but the Bengals can cover receivers, especially in the second half. How are you going to combat that? And I guess how are we going to combat the alien that is Josh Allen?
To me, it's so fast. You guys both obviously love Burrow. I like Burrow as well, but Allen, he's not too far behind that list as well. Like, it's just fascinating to me if Burrow can win tonight too, to have on his resume Mahomes and Allen in the same season. He has Mahomes on the resume.
Hey, that's Burrow's about to go for Mahomes. Yeah. I think he solidifies himself as an MVP, like top 2 MVP voting if he wins this game.
I think now with Hurts being out those couple of weeks, I don't think that's unrealistic. I think you think he's number 2 right now, regardless?
Probably number 2. Yeah, because even with Hurts being out, I think that almost helps him a little bit more because you've seen not everybody can go and win in that offense. Gardner Minshew should have been able to win those 2 games, but he wasn't able to do it. So if you're talking about guy that you can't lose in a season, Hurts might have a little bit more of an argument, but Burrow's right up there right now.
I was thinking, I was doing some I love sports history. So I like looking back at things and how it relates to now. So this week for our podcast, next week, I'm going to be doing a thing on top 3 AFC teams and just the history of how good some of these teams are in the past. And I'm not saying it's better than when maybe Colts and the Patriots were right there at their prime with Manning and Brady, but the big 3 right now in the AFC, I would put up against any big 3 really in the AFC over the last 20 years. This is a legit crop of group here of the AFC teams right now. It's very impressive. And I love that they're matching up a lot too right now.
And that 4th team, don't forget, Herbert's coming too with those 3 boys. Herbert's gonna be right there with the 3 boys. I think he's gonna wind up being like the Phillip Rivers-ish type compared to them, but he's gonna put up some numbers too.
No, he's the only thing I have concern with them is the franchise still has to prove to me that they can really back him up. You're right, he's the player though. It's but can the franchise? The Bengals though had that same history,
right?
And the other thing too, the Bengals are on a 7-game heater right now. They have not lost since that last Monday Night Football game to the Browns.
So you guys got pissed off since then. They've had injuries. They haven't had Chase out for it. The Bills, the interesting one for they're still playing well, but there's just something. They're an interesting team going in the playoffs as well, right? The weapons without Diggs is maybe not as great as some of us thought at the beginning of the year at the wide receiver position. So that'll be interesting there right there. All right, guys. Last part of the podcast here. I always like to wrap it up with our winners and losers of the week. Let's start with you, Charlie. We are our guest here. Again, thanks for joining us here this week. What do you got for winner and loser of the week presented by SeatGeek? Use that code VSN, people, and you will save $20 off that game. Maybe maybe a Jags-Titans big game next week if you're in Dallas. Let's save that out with it. So winners and losers this week. Who you got, my man?
I will say my winners probably, I don't want to say obvious ones. I'm just going to say Sam Darnold and Steve Wilkes. Sam Darnold was left for dead. He was left for dead. And then we played these games with the boy from the XFL and then Baker Mayfield. When Darnold was in, DJ Moore became DJ Moore, and he's your best player. You know what I mean? You lost Christian McCaffrey. You still kept going. Steve Wilkes, who should have never got fired after 1 year in Arizona, which was a catastrophe. Look at their organization now. I think he has deserved an opportunity to be the third African-American head coach in the NFL. Well, I should say two, because Lovie Smith's going to get fired. He was just in there for no reason. But I think he has earned that keep with that team, and that's why I was pulling for them to beat Tampa Bay, just so he can get more notoriety. I think he's a daggone good coach. I would love to have him because he just automatically inspires this team. Sam Darnold, he gave him a chance to maybe stay on the franchise, possibly maybe start, maybe.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good call. I still think the Cardinals should have never fired him after that 1 year for
sure. Yeah.
So yeah, just ridiculous right there. What do you got for winner of the week there, Jimmy?
My winner of the week is the Cowboys because their situation got a lot better and they got to play against Josh Dobbs in Tennessee on Thursday night. And then both teams ahead of them lost in games that they probably should have won. So they're sitting in a really good spot. They could still win the division depending on how everything. They need a lot of help to do that. But I think that they won just by the fact that they had to play nobody this week and also had two big losses in front of them. So they're my winner this week.
I'm not gonna have him for loser of the week, but you could say Willis is loser of the week easily. I mean, you've been with the Titans the whole year, and you have a guy get picked up for 2 weeks, and he's played over you. That's not a good thing.
And everybody knows that Josh Dobbs is not an NFL quarterback. Dude has proven this time and time again. Yeah. He sucked in college.
Yeah. Where did he go to college?
Tennessee.
Okay, I thought it was Tennessee. That's what I was thinking of it. Okay, loser of the week. Who do you got? Terrell, start with you. Who's your loser of week 17 here?
Loser of the week.
Oh, hold on real quick. I got my winner of the week. I forgot to give him.
Okay, who's your winner?
I got NFL ratings on Christmas Day. I mean,
you saw that too. The NBA guy saw that.
And I'm a big NBA guy, as you guys know, but I saw that, and I saw 25 million for the. And I'm gonna as you know,
go over the head with that on our show because he always talks about like Christmas Day basketball is better than Thanksgiving Day football.
Well, the public disagrees.
Sometimes.
The public 25 million to 4.5 million. That tells you right there.
The Broncos to get beat by 50.
I know. I mean, what a terrible game as well. But it just shows you the machine that is the NFL and like the betting game, the behind it and what they have.
It's gonna kill him because that's his team getting beat on, and that had 10 million more viewers than his beloved basketball. His Christmas Day basketball.
They probably had 4 million on Saturday night for his Nuggets game. So my winner of the week is NFL ratings. Guys, I'm curious to see if when the Christmas Day falls on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, is the NFL going to have a game on Tuesday and Wednesday? I believe they will. I believe they will make it happen. When you get $25 million, I think that's what happens. I think that's
you
the case.
You could add in an extra bye week with the 18 weeks in the schedule now.
Somebody will do. I mean, there's no way the Titans and Cowboys were happy to play a Thursday night game last week. So, somewhere they have to make sacrifices. So
we're watching all these horrible Thursday night games. You don't think you're going to watch some Christmas games on Tuesday? Of course we are.
Everybody got a few beverages, right? A little couple cold ones there. The family argue, right? That's all the good stuff there. And so my winner of the week, I had to get that in there. Forgot NFL ratings. All right, now sorry about that. Loser of the week here. Sometimes the best part of the podcast. Loser of the week. Who do you got, Terrell?
Well, before I get to that, to be fair to the NBA, I don't start really watching detailed NBA until Christmas time. Yeah. NFL is getting into the cream of the crop. You know what I mean? So it's kind of different schedules. But anyway, my loser of the week is the Ravens. I think they have messed up everything this year with the whole Lamar Jackson thing. You should have been sold. We're either going to go all in and take our chances or we're not. It's been a catastrophe. The teams look like horrible crap. Now you put yourself in a spot where you might not even win the division, which we thought was a lot. Now you're going to have a harder team to play in the first round instead of a home game that Lamar could come back and maybe get some confidence from the home crowd. I think their season's over. And then after the season's over, it's going to get worse because I don't think they're going to re-sign Lamar, and then the fan base and everything's going to go into turmoil.
What do you got, Jimmy, for loser? I think that's a great call too. I think I had the Ravens down as one of my as losers of the week as well, for sure. What do you got, Jimmy?
It's ironically enough the Colts, the team that moved from Baltimore initially. Because have you guys seen the stat since halftime of the Vikings game? They've been outscored 96-17.
Are you kidding me?
No,
90. I mean, that makes sense with that 39 points.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, they gave up 36 in the second half of that Vikings game, and then have gotten beaten consistently by 28-35 the last 2 weeks of the season.
Those are players making business decisions, not tackling as hard out there. That's what it sounds like to me.
You're talking about the Colts team that beat the Chiefs, lost to the Eagles by 1, and beat the Chargers too. Dang, that's crazy.
At one point, before they fired Frank Reich, they were 3-2-1 and right there for the AFC South. They could have been. I mean, the AFC South isn't great still. They could have been. It doesn't
seem like it was that early in the season.
Oh, that's crazy. It was way early. Remember they tied the Texans, and we were like, that tie's actually beneficial.
Yeah,
it's going to help.
That was real early. Yeah.
I guess you do this every week, Jimmy. You got to get lost in the season there a little bit. Where it's at, with it there. I had loser of the week. I got I don't know if it's like a loser thing, but Tua's head injuries. To me, they're kind of like just the whole situation there. I brought it up a few times kind of sarcastically during the year, is after that head injury, everybody made such a massive deal. Then he was back in a couple of weeks like we thought people would do, and then he gets hurt again. So his head, I think he has like 3 now on the year. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I heard his brother had a quote last week. It seemed like from a family standpoint, like they're like, oh, no, you can't do this or something. They just seem like they're football player family. My guess is he'll be back playing next year sometime. So just kind of a weird deal this whole year with Tua and the Dolphins. So I'm not saying the Dolphins are directly loser of the week, but just that whole situation. You kind of touched on it earlier, somebody on this pod. Just a weird season from them overall.
They could be loser of the week. Yeah, you got
second biggest crook owner behind Dan Snyder's is Stephen Ross.
Yes.
That's a good call, that one for sure. Yeah. But hey, before we get out of here, Terrell, I just wanted to say thanks for jumping on here on Talking the Gridiron, man. It's like I said, I've checked out your guys' podcast many times. I've seen you. We've been able to have you on there. Still, me and you are still battling it out technically in that Twitter draft too.
I was number 1. I didn't check. I might be 1 or 2 right now.
You might be 1 or 2. I know it's close.
Yeah, you were battling.
We're battling it out there. But I the one thing I appreciate you is you bring this energy to the podcast game. When you're doing the show, and like even with the belt, the jewelry, I just love the energy you bring. So I was really pumped when you agreed to come on. I asked you in such short notice too. So maybe you just want to plug your show, and just again, big thanks for coming on the show today and joining.
Hey man, it's a privilege for me, man. Like I told Jason and stuff all the time. People like you help my platform get bigger. So I'm grateful to do it. And like I said, I'm stopping what I was doing just to jump on with you guys for an hour. Glad to meet you. You're another one now. I'm gonna be bothering you some too.
That's fine. Yeah.
But I'm good with the Sports Talk. We got our show on YouTube. We're on Spotify and Anchor. We do a weekly show, and then we do our Friday Night Raw show. We're actually in collab with some people. We're going to do a show each day of the week for different sports, baseball, UFC, different kind of things. So we're working on those and still trying to do more live shows. And hopefully we'll have more times with you, Darren, and with you, Jimmy. Appreciate it, definitely. Go big, baby. Let's go.
Ask one last question here, real quick. Just give me a team, Jimmy or Terrell, real quick, and then I'll get to Jimmy. He can kind of plug his stuff. Here you got in the championship game for college football. We don't talk about it at all, really, on this show, but just real quick, you got Georgia, you got TCU.
Oh, but Georgia's going to kill them, dude.
All right.
Okay.
But I'm going to call this, though. Stennett will not finish the game. He's going to get pulled. He's getting pulled. After the way the coach talked about him in the press conference, they got somebody that's ready to step in. His fairy tale is over. He did a great job.
That's great. Jimmy, obviously you guys got your podcast going. I think you guys did. I love your podcast last week. The World Cup, you guys were on that little ring for a month there. It was fun getting your guys' perspective on that as well. Talking hockey, talking football like you guys usually do. Where can we find you guys at? You guys doing a show this week? What's up with you guys?
Yeah, we took last week off for Christmas holiday and kind of reset, recharge. Coming back strong. I'm not missing a video podcast this week, so subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us at FEOTB Pod. Every Thursday is when our new episodes drop. We'll have one this Thursday. We'll get back into it. We'll have to talk about the Broncos and everything that happened with Hackett being fired and Nico's guys. Hopefully, I'm talking about a win tonight from my boys. So we'll have an episode back this week. We'll recap a little bit of the college football bowl season that's been going on. I'll figure out who's in the lead of that pick'em and who's going to take home the championship this year. But we got a lot of good stuff coming up for the new year, and we're going to be going live a little bit more on our YouTube channel as well. So if you missed that when we did our third annual Bowl Pick'em show, we will be doing live shows. If the Bengals are making the playoffs and in a deep playoff run, I'll be coming on live afterwards. Hammered, probably. Yeah. Well, the smoke alarm's right above me, so I can't smoke a cigar down in the basement, but I'll have a few beers in me for sure because I just need to calm down. If you guys follow our TikTok at FEOTB Pod, I posted the video of me watching the AFC Championship last year. Those were Jack and Cokes in the first half. I loosened up real quick, so we'll have some post-playoff lives here. Hopefully my school district doesn't find those. But yeah, at FEOTB Pod, Thursdays, new episodes with Nico and myself.
That's all. It's a great pod, you guys. I love this podcast there. You can follow me over at Fatboy Fadeaway. We touch on a little bit of everything. There we did this pod this week, touched on the Warriors-Grizzlies matchup, talked a little bit about this week Niners-Raiders game, them being an old Oakland Niners, Oakland-San Francisco matchup. We talked about that as well. But go check us out there over at Fatboy Fadeaway. Jimmy again from Far to the Bench, Terrell from Realism Sports Talk. Guys, thanks for joining us. Hope we can do it again here. We can have you on, Terrell, maybe for the playoff punch here.
Let's get it, baby. Let's get it. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Till then, guys. Peace. Later.
All right.